Hello, hello. How you guys doing? James here. I just wanted to show you the difference between what in this first video what they call minority migrants, and I'm gonna show you in the second couple other people made this comparison with the people they want to bring over from South Africa. And this is under the Trump administration. So here's the first video.
We need to Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Well, y'all, this is becoming a common occurrence in America lately. Illegal immigrants being deported out of this country in these jumbo military aircrafts. Now, I didn't realize these planes were so big. You could transport a whole subdivision in these things. So Donald Trump is making good on his promise to deport these illegal immigrants out of the United States. Now, I hear people saying, well, he just transported this many. I don't see mass deportation. Well, you have to start somewhere. He's sending them out, and the optics of putting them in these military aircrafts with soldiers standing by with guns is startling, as in, we mean business. And not only that, they are in handcuffs, and their legs are chained. So they're being transported out like criminals because guess what? The Trump administration says that as far as they are concerned, anybody who comes up in here illegally is a criminal. But now, guess whose butt hurt because their citizens are coming out in handcuffs and leg chains. The model minorities, the Indians. I've been listening to Indian news reports, and it comes across to me as if they think they're too good to be deported at all, let alone in handcuffs and leg chains. So I came across this headline, where illegal Indian immigrants deported from U.S. handcuffed on flight, because there was some question about whether or not they were Indians or whether or not they were Guatemalans. Some of the Indians were saying, well, they're not Indians, they're Guatemalans, as if it's okay to deport the Guatemalans in handcuffs and chains, but not the Indians. Well, turns out the Indians went out of here in handcuffs and chains too.
Deportation of the first batch of illegal Indians in America has triggered outrage. There's the first video that's been released by the US Border Patrol in which the 104 illegal Indian immigrants were seen handcuffed. Let's play out that video for you on our screens. They're seen handcuffed and in shackles with their legs also chained as they were taken on board the C-17 US military jet. These are the first images and just a glimpse that you get really of the illegal Indians being taken up on the military aircraft, handcuffed, their legs chained and moved up. The US Border Patrol says it's the farthest deportation flight yet on board a military jet and has clearly sent out a warning that anyone caught crossing illegally will be removed.
So there you have it. If you come in here illegally, you stand a good chance of being deported out of here in handcuffs and leg chains. And no exceptions, model minorities. So, a United States military aircraft carrying illegal Indian immigrants landed in Amritsar on Wednesday afternoon. This was the first deportation to India during the second term of U.S. President Donald Trump. However, all eyes were drawn to a picture of the deported immigrants being handcuffed and having their legs chained while the U.S. deported them. So that's a form of humiliation. Donald Trump is showing that he has no respect of person. You came here illegally. You disrespected the laws of the United States. And people have been bragging about coming in and going out as they please. The borders have been open, porous, and people have been coming and going and bragging about coming and going at will. Well, there's a new sheriff in town called Donald Trump. And he's doing exactly what he said he would do. The fact that people didn't believe him, or that they thought that there was some safety net protecting them from his policies, goes to show how delusional people can be. Because he pointed out who he was sending back. Even if you knew you were here illegally, it should have at least crossed your mind that your name might be on the deportation list. But they were so busy thinking that they could hide behind black people that they didn't see what was coming.
Hold on, I gotta show you something. So, it was the Indians and the Guatemalans, Venezuelans, you got Caribbeans and Africans. But guess who is welcome, who he's trying to get over here? Guess he wants to bring 60 to 70,000 citizens from this. You would never believe what the makeup of what they look like. You would never guess this. And when you see this, you're going to be kind of shocked. Even though that these people did come over illegally, which is true, but guess what? He wants to bring another, he wants to give a certain privilege percentage to these people. Watch this. That was the Indians and Guatemalans, right?
White South Africans want to leave the country. This is crazy. Is this going to be a big problem for the rest of South Africa? Will the black people suffer from hunger since white farmers are taking their stuff and leaving the country? Will every bank fall underground? The hospitals, transportation system all go to the gutter? You better find out about this. What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing good. It's a beautiful day. Thank you very much for stopping by. You are appreciated. I see you. First thing first, YouTube says a lot of you people watch videos but you're not subscribed. Please click on the button subscribe before we start. You already know you want to be here because I like you. I mean, I know I look like your cousin. You look like mine. This is family. Look, you want to know about Africa? You are in the right place. This is where we talk about Africa. We discuss about everything. We sometimes bash one another. We bash everybody here. You're not special, trust me. We're going to bash your country. But it's all for the good, you know. The goal is to all come together and grow. Africa can't stay behind forever. I see you from all over the place, from the Caribbeans. I greet you from the United States of America, from all over Europe. I see you. Okay, we are in South Africa. Close to 70,000 South Africans have expressed interest in moving in the United States of America following Washington's offer to resettle people from the Afrikaner community of South Africa. Yes, fellas, 70,000 people have expressed their needs to leave South Africa. How do we know this? South African Chamber of Commerce in the USA, the SACUSA, said its website received tens of thousands of registration from those seeking more information. Now, what is SACUSA? SACUSA is a group representing South African business people living in the United States of America. They say people who have expressed interest in migrating in the US are aged between 25 and 45 years old. So basically, you have this group of people and company that's based in America with the goal of supporting South African business people that live in America or operate business in America, have received just short to 70,000 requests to help them on how to move move from South Africa to the US. Now, why is this happening? Well, if you remember, in February, executive order by Donald Trump said Afrikaners or descendants of mainly Dutch settlers who arrived in South Africa in the 17th century could be admitted as refugees as they were victims of unjust racial discrimination in South Africa. So we all know what's happened. Donald Trump came very strong against South Africa, hitting very hard, saying that the way black people are treating white people is genocidal, it's unacceptable. They are taking land from white people, and this is not acceptable. So he hit South Africa with sanctions. He cut the US aid, which enabled many people in South Africa to receive help when it comes to HIV and many other things. Health workers and many other people lost their jobs. Now, the funding is gone. And now, report says that 67,042 people have registered at SACUSA asking to be helped to transition to the United States of America. How do you feel about that? Will the country go to the gutter? Because Afrikaners, for most cases, are farmers. They are very good farmers. They produce the good. The potatoes, the tomatoes, the carrots, the everything that you put on your plate, in most cases, comes from Afrikaner farmers. Will South Africa suffer from this if these farmers leave the country? Now, will they really leave South Africa, or it's just a way to push a little bit left, right, center so they can get more power and sit properly in South Africa? Some people believe that some Afrikaners, and I say some people believe that some Afrikaners that were benefiting from the apartheid regime are missing that time, are missing the treatment they got, because now it has to be some sort of 50-50. And for people that's used to having it all while you have nothing, asking them to do 50-50 feels like oppression. This is what some people believe. Do you think that is the case? Now, how did we get to this place? I know a lot of people.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, we are
But there's another story to this. The white South Africans. To the story. There's another side of the story to this. Yeah. He's making it obvious. He wants to get rid of the Indians, the Guatemalans, the Nigerians, but bring in white South Africans. Yeah. 70,000 to white South Africans.
Hello, African Diaspora and his family. My name is Renilo Morema, and I am your host right here on the African Diaspora News channel. I am reporting live from Johannesburg, South Africa. President Donald Trump took to his social media pages to invite white farmers and their families to the United States and even promised them a citizenship status. Trump is pushing a pathway to citizenship for South African farm owners, overwhelmingly white, while plotting mass deportations of brown families, including US-born children who sought refuge here. The hypocrisy is staggering. He's literally rolling out the red carpet for one group while ripping other families apart or sending them into danger. How does this add up? And I'm seeing this strategy of Donald Trump of only offering white farmers United States citizenship. I mean, 80% of the farmlands in South Africa are owned by white farmers who are heavily involved in the business of commercial farming and actively using the AGOA Act to export their produce. Now, Trump offering US citizenship card to white farmers, he's indirectly telling us that South Africa will be expelled from AGOA soon because he has taken the skilled people that are responsible for the success of commercial farming, reducing the cost of produce imports in the United States. I think Ramaphosa is aware of the strategy because South Africa is preparing itself for the non-renewal of AGOA. The country has embarked on a vigorous campaign to look for alternative markets and strengthen its relations with old trading partners. I think South Africa is actually taking the right direction, a step in the right direction at this moment. I mean, the AGOA partnership with the US has always felt like a master-slave relationship. Such a relationship was bound to fail anyway. We might as well look for other avenues. This will require that South Africa focuses more on growing African trade. The winds of economic change should blow from the south to the north of Africa. The enormous South African economy should embrace Africa and vis-a-vis. Southern African Development Community should drop all trade barriers and tariffs, duties, etc. against each other and power our economy and our continent and regions. This is probably the biggest opportunity for Afreximbank Bank, the South Africa Trade Investment Promotion Program, and Trade and Development Bank organizations to help steer African trade away from the limp mode of relying on just foreign markets. Aggressively pivot small medium enterprises operation and trade, and this will make Africa great. It will be the total liberation of the African people. Trump's offer to the white farmers ruffled a few feathers of white Americans. United States Representative Chip Roy took to X and said only American citizens should be able to own farmlands in America. And I'm like, woo, child. And knowing the violent history of Boers and taking people's land by force, it looks like the Americans are in for a ride. This is so funny to me because Donald Trump just invited white South African farmers to go and live in the United States because apparently they are facing a genocide. Now, if only Americans are allowed to own land, what will these asylum seekers do upon arrival in the States? Change professions? How, when they don't even have degrees? Because they thought apartheid was going to last forever and the color of their skin will advance them in life. So they didn't see the need for an education or a need to get an education, and they settled for mediocrity. Now the chips are falling. The United States is in need of farm workers, not farm owners. That's why they are fast-tracking your US citizenship applications. So you go there and work those plantations, not own them. And then the Boers of Brakpan and Bronkhortspruit who look like this have the nerve to ask why they are not invited to America. I mean, sweetie, are you a farmer? What value are you adding to the economy of America? You barely have anything going on for yourselves in South Africa. What the hell are you going to do in America? What are you going to contribute to the economy of America? And I love how this invitation has sparked outrage and division in the Afrikaner community. It's revealing the classism within that race. And oh gosh, I am here for it. So yeah, the white farmers, if you're a farmer, and you have experience in commercial farming and you've been active in using and participating in the AGOA Act, you are invited to America to work those plantations and produce fruits and other stuff, other foods, or yes, to produce food for America so that they cannot waste money in importing produce from South Africa and other African countries. So if you are skilled, you are welcome in to go to America so they can fast track your citizenship application. Now, the Boers from Brakpan and Bronkhortspruit that have dirty hair and gnarled fingers, yeah, no, you guys are what are you going to contribute? You're like a liability. The US government will be spending more than what they are gaining. So where are you going? So you rather stay here, become our garden boys and girls, work for us, and just keep your head down and keep it moving. You know, you thought apartheid was going to last forever, so you settled to be mediocre because you trusted your skin color to advance you in life. But now things are changing, and now there are preferences within your race. Now you wanna cry. It doesn't work like that, sweetie. You're not an experienced farmer. Just stay in Brakpan and Bronkhortspruit. What do you think about this segment? Comment to us. And
did anybody know this? Did anybody know this one? See? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. See, Trump want to do something like this, and him and Elon. But to you black maggots, he don't see no race, huh? He don't see, but that's what's his goal. And I remember, there was one guy named was Pat Buchanan, and he had a similar idea. He was, I don't know, he was some kind of politician. He wanted to import Europeans over here to whiten up America. Meanwhile, send back the other people. And then, even though the people did break the law coming over here, but he wants to make a special law for the ones that's coming over here. And I think he's kind of reluctant about sending back, even though you have Ukrainians here. He might got some Russians here. He's not going to really push the issue with them. But with Nigerians, Mexicans, and other people, Cubans, Indians, he's trying to get rid of you. He's trying to make it like they do over in Europe. That's what they're doing over there. The white separatists and stuff. You got a white separatist that have the mindset of a white separatist in this country. Make it all look like a certain way. Oh my goodness. Yep. And that's what, if you watch my last video, that's what Reese Waters was talking about. But they think they're coming over here, and they might want to go to Nebraska. Say Nebraska?
We put our kids to bed and then took a vacation.
Watch this.
Thanks to some delicious gummies from Mood.
Well, in Nebraska, a lot of people voted for Trump, and Trump promised mass deportations. Well, Trump is doing what he said he was going to do, and now it's affecting their economy. I want you to go ahead and listen to what this white woman has to say.
Maybe y'all saw the news out of Nebraska today. Apparently our entire state is going to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Me and my husband owned a cattle ranch here, and I can confirm that all of the cattle ranchers here overwhelmingly voted for Trump. We support him. We voted for him. Something like 70% of our entire workforce is undocumented immigrants, and they straight up are not showing up for work anymore. They have all either fled the country, fled the state. They don't want to get raided while at work, so they have just moved on to work somewhere else. And straight up, we are going to go bankrupt now. We are going to go bankrupt, and we voted. We knew that the immigrants would get deported, and he was coming after immigrants. Yet we still voted for it. Overwhelmingly voted for our own demise. I was talking to my husband last night, and I have to admit that it seems a bit foolish now when you think about it like that we voted for something that is now putting us directly out of business.
Well, ma'am, Trump he's doing what he said he was going to do. That's number one, so you should be applauding Trump. That's number one. Number two, let's look at it like this. He's mass deporting them, or they are in hiding, whatever the case may be. That's going to open up, what you said, 70-80%? That should open up jobs for white people in that state to go get jobs. Why aren't you good white people in Nebraska going over there and getting those jobs? Why would the state go bankrupt? Last time I checked, 70-80% of the whole population of Nebraska isn't going to be deported or fear being deported. They're talking about people who are here illegally. So why aren't y'all going to get those jobs? Those jobs are open to you.
those farms, all the jobs that the immigrants are doing. Why don't you go get those jobs? See, it's not just 2025. It was 1925. It was 1825. It was 1725. It was 1625. The problem you had from all the way back then to now is one thing, and one thing only: laziness. You were lazy then, and you're lazy now. And the reason why I say you're lazy is because you didn't need Africans or any other black person to come do anything in this land. It was enough of y'all importing yourself over here from Europe, but you failed in Europe. You failed. You couldn't do nothing in Europe, so you came over here. And then when you tried to do it on your own, you couldn't even make it, not even a year, and y'all was cannibalizing each other. Y'all didn't get nothing going until y'all got us enslaved to start doing it. And now you can't put us in a position to do it, so now you get the immigrants from mostly Latin America, maybe a couple from the diaspora, but mostly from Latin America, to go do all your work. And now since they're afraid that they're going to get deported, so they just kind of hiding out, staying out the way. Now you're willing to say that in 2 quarters that your state will go bankrupt, not because 78% of your population is all immigrants, because y'all are too lazy to go out there and do the work. See, Trump is exposing everybody, including y'all. And Trump, you keep on doing what you're doing.
Yep, and can I interrupt right here and say this? It was also predicted by the year 2050, because all these immigrants were coming over from Latin America and different places, and you had people come from India. Then we have what they called the racial caste. So these Trump supporters got feared. They were feared. There are some people who are white that was their greatest fear. I believe that was the motive for one of the reasons why they really wanted to get rid of some of these people. Not everybody, not all white people, but there's a segment of white people in this country that are very, very, that look at everything from that. And so then there's the other segment of people that want to get these people that come from and get cheap labor and stuff off of them. And so it's a conflict. It was, and like he mentioned, 1625, 1725, and about 18 when the North versus the South, it was over politics like this. White men from the North and the South were taking each other out because of one of the things was with the industry of cotton and everything. And so when they let go half the people that was enslaved, that kind of threw the industry off. So what happened was when the thing kicked off in Washington D.C. and the generals from the North and the South they were really going at each other from different states. And so what happened was Abraham Lincoln saw white men dying from the South, white men dying from the North, and they were taking each other out. Boom. And so the lesser the population that it was, they got scared, and that's why they kind of made a treaty to settle the war. Because there was a segment of native indigenous people and African indigenous people here that were growing, and they would outpopulate the white population in this country. They was gonna outpopulate. And even though that every other group of people that were fighting in this war, because there were slaves that were fighting, there was indigenous people that were fighting on which side, but this was basically what it is. So basically that's why he mentioned about that. And then once the war was over in some states and slavery was over, and back in the 16 to 1700, I mean, some people didn't even leave slave. There was still some people still on. I didn't even know this until even after the war. There was some people still had other people in bondage and slavery in America. Now, not everybody got out. until you finally, you don't know what they still. Yeah, they had this family in slavery up until like 1960. I'm like, what the heck? Wow. Yeah. So when black people and people with truth tells you, say, about this country, saying it's about race, and people say, no, it's not about race. Yes, it is. Because that's why and see, when the population started to get more, because there were going to be more brown people in this country. It was about to brown out in the future. That's why all the Latinos, the Indians, the Asians, and you had Africans coming over here. And eventually, they're going to filter out. And with illegal immigration, they was going to filter out or go all through the country. And even though that there was some bad characters among the illegal people, but it was something bigger why some people voted for Trump. Because because one thing about America, some people in America, they don't like another people speaking a different language. And don't want somebody having a different language with some people, and having a different makeup of the people that is going to look like the places where some Americans have gone into different parts of the world, and it may look like Thailand, or it may look like South America, it may look like parts of Africa. This is the truth. You want to know the truth? That this is the truth. So if you look, if I show you, there's a video over in Europe. What this European groups do in places? They got the immigrants out because they had to say, and it was because of resources and things like that. But they were kind of, all these immigrants were coming in from the Middle East and Africa and other places. So you get these white, and you go over and look. I can show you channels. These white separatists, they have the same mindset in Europe, different parts of Europe, that didn't want to, what they call multiculturalism. In here, you have the same spirit as in America, even though we supposed to be a melting pot, but you have the same mindset here. They don't want there's some places still don't want a multiculturalism in America. Don't mean that everybody look in that demographic of people agree with it, but there's some people that do, because they don't want it. It's all because sometimes because the language and the complexion of the skin. This is the truth. So that's why he mentioned that. And then said, now you see. And then Elon's put in his ear about these white people getting their land. The white South Africans own 70% of the land over there. 70 to 90% on the land. They got 70-90% of the resources. That's a lot. And even some white South Africans said the same thing. Some of them, they said, we're not coming up over there. We're not coming over. Some of them was coming on TikTok. But see, we have a president that subconsciously, and I always say this, that is racist. He's no different than Joe Biden. They just kind of subtly put it in your face. He's no different. Him and Biden is no different. They just put on the show like they don't like each other, but they got the same ideal. They'll have a black assistant, or they'll have nobody black, but don't mean that. But they're preferential people they want around in their circle looks just like them. Just for political reasons. So that's the real deal. So you see, he get rid of Nigerians, the Haitians, the Venezuelans. I mentioned this in the video. Chinese, Indians, Arabs, but he allowed he might listen to Ukrainians and Russians and South Africans. What does that tell you? Don't mind if someone come over here from Europe. And it's the thing about it is, even a man just made this remark. A Canadian man made this. He's a white Canadian, made this same thing about Donald Trump. You see what he's doing. And I would say to you, if anybody who is a white nationalist, the Most High God is going to destroy white nationalism in America. Even though you do unjust to people of color, it's going to come back on you. Just like they did a white people reparation, it's going to come back on you. It's going to come back on you. It's coming back. Because we are the people of the book. We are the people of the book. So, yeah, but America's showing you who they really is. And that's why I mentioned there are people that's direct racist and people that's indirect racist. And it don't matter if they're Republican, it don't matter if they're Democrat. It don't matter. If you look like me, we have something to come. We can disagree all day long. We can be, our ancestors come from be different parts of, let's say if I was Caucasian, classified as Caucasian. But when it comes to the other races, that's how some people think. I'm going to show you something. And this, you know, this people don't. Yeah, everything is everything. It's going to come back full circle. But that's why they want to bring them over here. 70% of the people that look like something that could be in Trump's family owns the doggone land, but they being oppressed. They robbing. In fact, they gave back the properties to the people. Watch this. This is a white preparation. Shout out to Miss Boulay.
About a subject that I think is very serious, and that is when white people received reparations. Because in fact, white people didn't get reparations. They just got free gifts in America for being white. And since there's so much pushback against black people getting reparations for a debt that's owed, that was owed to our ancestors that they were not able to collect, I think it's time for us to look at white people's reparations. And I don't even know what you call it, because reparations mean repairing for some damage that you've done, and no damage was done to them. They just came across the ocean to increase the white population in the United States of America. That's what theirs was about. Just like Donald Trump now is talking about annexing Canada and invading Greenland. This is all about adding more white people to the population of the United States of America, because they are at a 0% birth rate and it is irreversible. So I don't know what they would actually offer these people, but I guarantee you, if they agree to become a part of the United States, they're going to get some compensation for it. So that would be compensation rather than reparations. I guess that's what you would call it. Compensation for agreeing to come to the United States and increase the white population. But let's talk about the freebies that they have gotten just on the basis of being white. Now, I don't believe white people know this. They really believe they built the country. They really believe that they have added something very important to America. But the work has always been done by black people, but they have benefited simply because they're white. And since this is Dr. Martin Luther King's week, I want you to hear what Dr. Martin Luther King had to say about this.
America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation, but gave the slaves no land or nothing in reality to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base. And yet it refused to give its black peasants from Africa, who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years, any kind of economic base. And so emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our bootstraps. But it's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps.
So the first compensation that white people got for coming to the United States of America was land, free land. As you know, I taught elementary school for many years, and one of the things we were taught back in the day in teacher training is that one of the most important things that you can do with children is read to them. So the teacher reading to children is very important, especially young children, because it models good reading. It teaches the importance of introducing a story, of reading a sentence correctly, pausing at commas, stopping at periods, and showing excitement when there's an exclamation point at the end of a sentence, and so forth. Some of the books are written in series. I'm sure some of you read series books like Goosebumps and Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. One of the series that I like to read was Little House on the Prairie by Laura Ingalls Wilder. In one of those books, and I think it's Little House in the Big Woods, I'm not sure, but in one of those stories, Paul Ingalls came home one day and told his wife that they were moving, I believe they said they were moving either to the Oregon or the Colorado territory. And the reason is because he said they had opened up land out there. Now, back in those days when I was reading that story, I didn't even think about what that meant. He said they had opened up land in that territory. So they were moving out there to get free land. Okay? Now, what did that mean, though, that they had opened up the land? That meant they had fought those indigenous people and defeated them. And now they were parceling out land to white people. So that was one of the enticements of the Europeans to come to the United States. You're going to get free land. Some of them got a lot of land. Some of them just got what they needed. But some of them got a lot of the land. My point being that land is money even now in the United States. And they got free land that belonged to other people. But that was the enticement for them to come. And they came in droves.
Microsoft Tech for Social Impact is committed to making world...
That's what it was all about. That's the truth. So what Donald Trump is doing what they did over 200 something years ago. That's why different parts of the country, wherever there's black people on land, they eminent domain and push them, like they do in South Carolina and different places. There you have it. But that's another American story they don't want people to know about. And that's one day truth is going. They can kind of cover up and hide it and patch it up, but in the end, it's going to. The Lord Jesus Christ is going to reveal all of this. So you can't hide something, because what you do to people is going to come back on you. Shout out to Miss Boulay again for giving a brief history on that. That's what Martin Luther King told back then applies to now, past to present. What you see now, and people still going this and present. So I hope you learn something today, so that everybody is equally, and you have people that, even though we're supposed to be a diverse country, We visible. Everybody's got to look like American, but the American that they want looks like them, not what everybody else. And they're showing you, and they're gonna find a way. They have to look like they're the majority, the complete, but put the minority as the scenery, only when needed. In other places, in other countries, are starting to see it. Just like South Africa, America mirrors the same thing. Alright then, take care, be blessed. Subscribe, like, subscribe next time. See you on next video.